Hey, Marino. This is Dave.
There you go.
No. This is Dave. I'm Dave.
No. I'm Dave. Who are you?
All right. Well, this is Dave and Dave. We're here to talk sports.
We can both be Dave.
Sounds good. Dave, why don't you explain what we're doing up here?
Oh, we're going to talk a little sports. We're going to talk a little sports gambling. We're going to try to give you some insights into some things that we feel we've got some knowledge about, and we hope to have a good time doing it.
All right. Yes, different insights, different angles toward making some money and beating the books, beating the public. Let's get right to it. What have we got on store today? What are we talking about today?
We take a look at some of the over-unders on total wins for the NFL teams. It's not the kind of thing that we're going to focus on, on a daily basis, but season starts in a week and a half. We figured we get into the NFL, take a little, look into the crystal ball, see what we think about some of the teams going forward.
Exactly. This is our little warm-up, but of course, we're going to be talking about baseball right in through the playoffs. We're going to be talking about the top horse racing. I know Dr. Dave here is itching to talk the horses. U.S. Open, of course.
Don't forget the top flight of European football. The real football.
Of course. You are the kickball specialist.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking, after we go through some of our win picks, our future picks for the NFL, we're going to be talking about the soccer schedule. And what league are you going to be concentrating on there, my friend?
We love the Premier League, but I got a soft spot for Serie A. The wife is full-blooded Italian, so gotta go with the Italian league. La Liga, the top sport in Spain, the top league in Spain.
Liga,
can't forget the Germans. Come on, it's good football, great crowds.
The Bundesliga. They are the great crowds. In your opinion, who sings the best? Who's got the best song?
The Germans. Yeah, the German crowds are the loudest, and they sing the whole game, and they're fantastic. But
the most smoke bombs in the crowds? I think you got to go towards Central or South America. I think I've been in the midst of one of those. But it was good cover to exit stage left.
I'm only covering the old sod right now. I don't know enough about the Western Hemisphere football to give a proper analysis. But anyway, England, Italy, Spain, and Germany, that's plenty for me right now.
Plenty for you.
And even the second tier of English football, the Championship League, also really good stuff. Good stuff.
All right. Well, we're starting with the NFL. I know everybody's excited for this to kick off. We're going to go through our win totals, who we think is going to be better or worse than the projected. And we're going to use DraftKings as our number. Let's get right to it. After that, we're going to touch upon a little college football that's going on tomorrow. And Jay, what are you looking at in the NFL? Who's your team? Let's go with the team you think the most is either overrated or underrated in their win total projection.
An excellent question, because I'm a little torn as far as whether I want to promote somebody or whether I want to demote somebody. I'm going to promote. I'm going to be positive here. I'm going to say that a team that I really think is going to be a nice over for the season, and you can give me the number on these guys and the price, but I'm looking at the Los Angeles Chargers.
The Chargers.
A lot of changes. Yeah. They lost some serious skill position guys, 2 receivers and a running back who've really been carrying the load for them for a long time. But those guys were also hurt an awful lot, and I feel like they're replaceable. I think they've got the pieces there. They've got a quarterback, and maybe the biggest change is they got rid of probably the worst coach in the NFL, and they replaced him with Jim Harbaugh. And although I'm not a Harbaugh disciple, like he's the second coming, I do think he's an excellent coach, and I think that's going to get that team at least a couple of wins that with the other guy, they wouldn't win those games, period.
They're lucky they play
to go over the total. I think they're definitely a playoff team. The division's a A little tough, but I think the schedule's okay. It's not that difficult because of the fact that they weren't, they didn't have a great record last year. That kind of helps them for scheduling this year. So schedule dynamics looks pretty good as long as they can keep the quarterback healthy. I think the Chargers are going to win their fair share of games and definitely go over the total that the books have on them right now.
Well, we're looking at the number 8.5, but you'll probably want to go up from there. Let's look at 9.5. The over is plus 140, under minus 175. Because if you go back to 8.5,
at least 10.
Pardon me? At least 10.
At least 10 and 8. So, yeah.
I like that.
They're a playoff team, so they make it comfortably. And that better number with the better price, I would play that. I wouldn't play the 8.5. I play the 9.5.
No, that does look good. Look good. They open up with Seattle. Oh, no, I'm sorry. They open up the Raiders. Sunday afternoon, 9-8 with the Raiders. And follow that up at Carolina.
So we're 1/10 of the way. Excuse me, we're 20% of the way home after 2 weeks.
Exactly.
We beat the Raiders. We beat Carolina. We're on our way.
Their first tester is hosting Kansas City in that beautiful balmy.
And they can beat them at home. So
that's right. Kansas City, a notorious slow start.
To the notorious slow start. Exactly.
Right. And then Denver, Arizona, and New Orleans. So I like that. Any concern them getting rid of their top back there? What was the
Eckler? He just hurt all the time already,
Right.
I mean, and come on, NFL running backs, they're interchangeable pieces. They have to be. They just get hurt so often. You find a guy who's good and durable, you better hang on to him.
I tend to agree, and especially with the coaching, I think Justin Herbert was not used correctly. I think their offensive coordinator was kind of in a stranglehold there because of that head coach.
Complete moron.
Yeah.
When you can't even manage the clock, at the end of a half or at the end of a game, I don't know how you have any business being a head coach in the NFL. But there's been more than a few of them. But he was certainly the latest example of a guy who just did not belong as a head coach in the league. Could be a good assistant, whatever. He's got his specialty, but head coach, I know.
I've heard nothing about him. I've heard, he just kind of disappeared, just kind of faded. Maybe he went across the border, fairly close there in San Diego. I'm not saying.
In football league?
Well, yes, they have the bullfights.
The Chihuahua Rough Riders? Or?
The bullfights down in TJ there, right across the border. You get a taco, a bullfight, a little bit of gambling, and tiddly-tee, and then you're back home.
I seem to remember that. I seem to remember Agua Caliente.
All right.
A couple of trips down to Agua Caliente. Yes.
Ay, Agua Caliente.
Good time was had by all.
No doubt about it. Leave your guns at the border. I know you started on a positive note. I'm going on a negative note. Everybody's on the Jets, Jets, Jets. I'm going to, yes. I know you love them. Let's get that out of right away.
I'm not picking them. I'm just.
You're bleeding green. I'm bleeding blue. I'm blue. You're green. But I'm going the Jets to go under 9.5, plus 130. They can still win 9 games, probably still get in the playoffs at 9-8. Only because, and I say only, I love Aaron Rodgers. I love him. He's an old guy like me. I'm rooting for him. I want him to kick some ass, but I just see him definitely not getting through the whole season unscathed.
Well, I always thought he was a jerk. He just happens to be the quarterback for my team now, so I got to root for him. So,
I know.
And it's been a long time in between Super Bowls for that guy.
I don't see that they made any significant upgrade in their offensive line. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Offensively, I know Zach Wilson is running around left, right. He's great going side to side and then throwing, 6-7 yards. But
behind the line of scrimmage.
Exactly. But I don't see, to be honest with you, that they did upgrade their offensive line that much. They're saying that they did. Maybe you have a little more, insight there than I did.
They're going to try to keep him in one. They're going to try to keep the old guy in one piece. And he's smart enough. He'll get rid of the ball. He's not going to.
I just think the wear and tear now, you got to have quarterback depth, and few teams do. Both New York teams, which I'm going under against, both of them had trouble last year at that position, and it's going to continue. I don't see anything changing.
The Giants didn't change anything. So.
Yeah, they're trying, and if you listen to the press, and everything that this Jets D is going to carry them. I don't see it.
Somebody last year compared him to the '85 Bears. Now that person hopefully never gets to speak about football again as long as they live.
Yeah, I don't see
somebody
that.
Said that.
Really?
Yeah, ridiculous.
No, I don't see that. I mean, they start off right away. The Jets are going to be in San Francisco, and they follow that up. Yeah, they follow that up going to Tennessee, where they have a great quarterback and a great coach down there, a lot of enthusiasm. Maybe they get a pass hosting New England week 3, and then Denver. I don't know, unknown package. Let's see. Bo Nix can, light up the Jets. Then they go to Minnesota, another sleeper. There's another team I think is overrated. And then come the big guns with Buffalo. You got the Texans. But I think it's going to be a tough row for the Jets, especially at that number. I don't think they have 10 wins in them. And that's my first pick. Dr. J, or I should say Dr. Dave, your second team?
Bad mouth and the Giants. I was going to give you since I went first, you get to go second and third. How about that?
Then I'll stay on the New Yorkers. I thought they should have cut Barkley, cut Daniel Jones, cut. They should have done a lot of cutting, kind of like Parcells did in the '84 season after his '83 debacle with Scott Bruner, picking him over Sims. And, Kowtow to Mara, who are great owners, but they really don't know much about contemporary football. So I think there's too much of that. I think Daboll, is a decent coach. I think he had things set up for him really well in Buffalo, and he had probably one of the best quarterbacks, I think, of this era anyway. Josh Allen, I love him.
We should have drafted.
Yeah, exactly. You guys should have got him out of Wyoming. He was sitting there waiting for you. But Giants D is going to be tough, but they're going to be on the field for a long time. And there's really no offensive star. You can't have your offensive star being a wide receiver his first year.
One thing the Giants did do that I really like, and they picked up a guy that the coach is familiar with. They got Derek Singletary, who played for the Bills for years.
Definitely.
Really good, sort of all-around, versatile kind of, really like a third down kind of back. So he's not going to be able to carry the load. But when it comes to that kind of thing, he can catch the ball, he can get you some yards. I always liked him. I always liked him.
Yeah, and I would too be enthusiastic about that, and maybe a little bit of their receiver core. I like their tight ends, but there's nobody to block. And they're notoriously injured, and their depth is terrible. They got a young kid out of Minnesota who's the second year at center. He's supposed to be great, but he's got nothing around him. I know we got a lot of high draft picks, but Evan O'Neal, a disappointment. Our most important left tackle spot is weak, and I just see Danny Dimes running left, running right, doing bootlegs, and leading the Giants in rushing almost every game. They're not going to be able to give it to Singletary. And, of course, that's going to negate, our first-round draft choice. They're not going to get the ball to him. If they double cover him, there's really no other threat. The Giant D will be tested and, get those under bets queued up, ready to go for the first 2 or 3 games of the season. Speaking of that, let me just look and see who they do.
Preseason was all 14-10 every game. Unders all over the place.
We open up with Minnesota, which should be a good game. They're both terrible. And then we go to Washington, another battle of the Titans. And then it gets serious, at Cleveland, Dallas, Seattle, Cincinnati, Philadelphia. Good night. You know,
that's
they'll be lucky if they split with Washington, and maybe they'll eke out a game later on with maybe the Saints. Certainly, I don't even think Carolina. I think Carolina's up to beating the Giants. So it's going to be a long season. I didn't give you the number yet, but it's 4.5 is the number on the Giants.
That is low.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to win. I think they'll win 4 games. 6.5 is minus 135. But interesting enough, you can't get 5.5.
Or worse.
It goes from 6.5 to 4.5. And this 6.5, the under is minus 135. No bargain there. But the under of 4.5 is plus 240. There's your bargain. There's your money, I mean, for a futures bet, it's got to be something strong. They're holding on to your money for, 18 weeks or whatever it is, You can
even money bet. Well, there's thousands of opportunities every week.
So that's 4.5 plus 240. I think the Giants will get the quarterback out of Georgia next year because by default, I even think Arizona will get more wins than the Giants and even New England. I think, the guy we were trying to get, quarterback May, going to have a little surgence there. They might even beat the Jets. And that's going to be one of my picks later on, that being New England, but in the other direction. So that's Giants plus 240, winning 4 games or less. Your second pick, Dave the Rave?
Well, I want to start out by saying that one of the things that sort of influences me as far as looking at a team having a better season than expected or a worse season than expected is the fact that these teams are all so close these days. It actually makes this kind of thing a little difficult because, you sort of almost have to take into account the real variables that can take place during the year, like injuries and this and that. But last season, the average margin of victory for NFL teams in games was the lowest, even though it was over 9 points a game on average. But that's averaging in all the blowouts, the 20-point, the 30-point wins, whatnot. It was 9.7 points a game, which is the lowest average margin of victory since 1932. Okay, 1932 is not leather helmets. It's no helmets.
That's
right?
The galloping ghost.
No helmets. Yeah, exactly. That's going way back. So the league has essentially gotten what they've been trying to achieve since Pete Rozelle. I'm sure there's a few of you out there who remember Pete and the attempt to have, any given Sunday, anybody can beat anybody. Well, they're really getting there. I mean, you can take a look at a team like Carolina last year and know, all right, they're probably not going to beat this team or that team. But then when you take a look at all the close games that these teams play, it's insane. For example, last year, the Minnesota Vikings played 17 games in a regular season. 14 games were decided by 1 score or less. 1 score or less. 14 out of 17. They were the heart attack inducing team of all time. All their games were close. They lost a few more than they won. So if they can, flip that this year, they might be a little bit better than expected. But of course, lost their quarterback, etc. But a ton of close games. So some of the teams that I'm looking at to improve this year had a little bit of trouble in close games last year, and vice versa. Some of the teams that I'm expecting not to do quite so well had won an inordinate amount of close games. So the first team that I'm gonna go negative on the team that I'm going to talk about now, and that's Pittsburgh Steelers. They were 9-2 last year in games decided by 1 score or less. I mean, come on. Few of those games go the other way. We're not even talking about them being even competitive, let alone being a playoff team or anything like that. I don't really know why they gave up on the young guy, the quarterback from Pitt, who now went to the Eagles, I think. I think he did, yeah. Pickett went to the Eagles.
Right? Yeah. He's the second. Yes, he's with the Eagles. Yeah. Correct. You are correct.
Probably a good spot for him, considering the fact that, these guys get hurt all the time. Could be a good backup spot for him. He might get a shot sooner than you think. But they went with two quarterbacks. They got two, guys who have been starters for other teams. And in my opinion, they went with the wrong guy. I mean, they're going with Russell Wilson, and I think they should have gone with Justin Fields. I think Russell Wilson, for all the good seasons that he had, and he really did have some amazing seasons, he's got some, I can't remember what the statistic is, but winning percentage for him over a 10-year period is like the best in the history of the NFL. It really is. Seattle had really good teams for a long time there. But if you saw the games last year with Denver and everything, he looks like he's just taking the money and he's done. He's done. So I really think that Pittsburgh won a lot of close games last year. They're not that good to begin with. Defense is really suspect, and I think they're a dead under this year.
Well, that's 7.5, and the under plus 135. Good value there.
Yeah,
okay,
that low, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's two mistake-prone quarterbacks, and I think the Mike Tomlin era a lot was based on their running game, the strength of their running game. And they looked absolutely terrible in preseason. But toward the end of last year, you could see that their offensive line, it wasn't clicking. And
I think Cleveland's a little overrated. I think that's a tough division. I think that's going to be tough for all those.
Sure.
Always got to deal with Baltimore. They're going to win a bunch of games. And you got Cleveland and you got Cincinnati. It's going to be better.
Yeah. I mean, you're dealing with maybe the top 3 out of the top 5, top 6 at least teams, and you're the odd man out. You have to win 8 games. So go 8 and.
I think it's going to be a long year for Pittsburgh.
8 and 9. Yeah, probably I don't see it either. Going 8 and 9. 6 of those games. Yeah, 6 of those games are against your 3 division rivals. Yeah, that's going to be a tough one.
And then Justin Fields will start crying about not playing, and that'll be another problem they'll have to deal with.
Oh no, that has not started yet, and they're going to be calling for Tomlin's head at the end of this year. I agree with you there, Dave, 100%. All right, follow it up with another one.
All right, I'll go back to the positive. We talked about these guys a little bit. I don't think New England's as bad as people think. And here again, they have a team that last year struggled in close games. They were 4-8 in games decided by one score or less. Even if you get to, break that down to 6-6, and they probably have enough wins to go over the total, which is really low. I mean, I guess people are thinking that division's going to be so awesome because, Buffalo's going to be good, okay. But New England usually gives them at least one good game a season. The Jets, we don't know. You don't like them. I have to root for them. I'm obligated. And I think Miami's overrated. So I don't think that division is as tough as people think. And I think New England is going to be better off now that they finally got the old boring coach to pack it in.
He had his mind set elsewhere with the gymnast or whatever he's doing, driving around the park with he's like Fredo in Las Vegas.
New England, I think that total is too low, and I think they'll be able to go over that. So now I've got the Chargers over, New England over, and I got Pittsburgh under. What's next for you?
Well, just, capping what you said with New England, going to be tough opening up. They open up in Cincinnati, but then they get Seattle at home, a beatable team, and then they're at the Jets. Followed up by San Francisco, Miami, Houston. They're going to have some tough games in the beginning. But if they stem that, then later on, they're getting the Bears, they're getting the Colts, they're getting Arizona. And, like you said, maybe one of those Jets. And that's the number 4 that you're looking for, 4 wins, right? Or you're going for the 4.5.
They're playing a last place schedule, so they play a bunch of crappy teams.
Yes. But you're looking for more than 4 because it's 4.5.
Oh, yeah.
The over.
Give me 5 and 12. Come on, I'm not asking for much.
All right. If you're going 5 and 12, you're going to have to lay 135. If you're going 6, you'll get plus 160. You can think about that for a little bit.
I'd be tempted to go 6-11. I might stick with the 5.
That'd be one you want to think about because right now at DraftKings, the over 5 games, 5.5 is plus 160 and 4.5 minus 135.
All right. That's my
But
limit.
I do see at least 4 and then squeak it out.
7-5.
Yeah, I think the tone is different now in New England. There's less pressure, whatever you want to say, out with the old, in with the new.
No pressure.
Yeah, I see some positive things going to happen there. They're still going to have a very good defense, very good. And they're a few plays away of, 5 victories. I think they can do that. All right, let's move along.
Who do you
I'm going to stay on the negative, and for a lot of the reasons you spoke about, the Vikings. They got a lot of injuries to their defense, a defense that was really good last year and a defense that carried them to some of those victories that you were talking about.
Yeah.
But it comes right down to they have no running game and no solid quarterback. They were all ready to all in on McCarthy from Michigan, and that was not going to be the answer. You got Sam Darnold now as your quarterback and no backup, no backup whatsoever. And Sam I know Darnold, that touches a nerve there for all you Jets fans.
Carolina were pretty good, and then he just went in the tank again.
Yeah.
You can't. These ghosts out there or something, the way he described it.
And there's a reason that it's 6.5 under plus 120. They're baiting you. They're like, Minnesota. Oh, yeah, Minnesota was tough last year. They were tough. Like you said, they squeaked out a lot of games, late interceptions, field goal. It was a lucky season for them last year. They lucked out on a lot of games.
They lost more close games than they won, but yeah, they're a mess.
So I'm going under Minnesota, and that's 3 unders for me. Giants, Jets, then we're going north of Minnesota, and that under is plus 120, under 6.5. So if they win 6 games, I'm a winner. Win a chicken dinner.
Whenever I talk about Philadelphia, I like to go with the negative. So I'm going to say the Eagles are going to be crap. I think last year, their playoff game, which was an embarrassment, they got blown off the field by a pretty crappy team, actually, Tampa Bay. But the Eagles' season last year could have been so much worse than it was. They had that little 3-game losing streak there in the middle of the season where everybody's like, oh, my God, what's going on with the Eagles? That easily could have been a 7-game losing streak. They had 4 games before their losing streak where every one of those games they pulled out of their ass, okay? They were not a good team, and they showed their true colors in the playoffs. I think they're going to be worse this year. They got Saquon, great. Obviously, he's injury prone. I think he's a talented guy, but I don't see him helping that team out that much. They've had a couple of retirements. Supposedly, according to the draft gurus, they drafted well. But I think last season should have been a lot worse for Philly. And I think the playoff game was more who they really were last year than just one bad game. So that's my take on Philly.
All right. 10.5, under 10.5 plus 110. Yeah, that's a lot of games. Kelsey got out for a reason. No, I think he saw.
Go do the podcast for one.
Yeah, he's doing the podcast. And
what kind of crap is that?
Yeah. Who? Yeah. What kind of guys that do a podcast? What? He's looking east. He's looking west. And what do you want from me? I agree with you on that. And one of those losses that you're referring to was from the Blue, the Giants, Tommy D. Tommy D got one of his victories there. Got a veal cutlet sandwich out of that.
The Jersey Giants.
The Jersey Giants, Tommy D. Got to make some pizzas. But that shows you how bad they really are. And, I'm going to take that a step a little further. I see the NFC East going in reverse, 5 gears in reverse. That goes for the Cowboys all the way down to the Giants, with the Commanders being totally overrated, which is going to be my final pick as an under. I see the NFC East going in the toilet, going back to the start over days.
According to us, then it's Dallas by default, right? You said
exactly. They have
Washington,
enough talent that they can win the East. They'll get into the playoffs.
That only leaves
it's going to be the same old shit, They got great talent. I mean, on that team, I love their athletes. They're fantastic. Micah Parsons is the next LT, but they can't get out of their own way. They're not well coached. And I'm not going to spend time talking about Dallas, but I will support you with your under in Fluffia, definitely.
Eagles.
And, maybe you're right. Kenny Pickett will be.
Everybody in the state of Pennsylvania, but I did pick both the Pennsylvania teams.
You did pick a little bit. You picked just a little bit.
I apologize. You're all a bunch of fucking, hillbillies, but I got nothing against you.
I think I met a nice girl from Philly when I was down in Atlantic City.
I love fracking. Frack away. Frack away. No, and they're great fans. I will say this. The Steelers fans and the Eagles fans, fantastic football fans. Just this season, your teams are going to suck.
All right. Well, I'm going to finish up with my final team being Washington, as I mentioned. I think they're way overrated. They think this new quarterback is going to be the second coming. I think it's a bargain. I'm going under 6.5. All they have to do is win 6 games, and I'm cashing. If they win 6, I don't even see them winning 5. And if I wanted to do that, I would get plus 190. So I'm going to even go further. I'm going to say 5.5 plus 190.
Under 5.
They sold out a lot of their defensive guys. Chase went to I think it was San Francisco, and I'll have to check on that. But another, the defensive coordinator with Dallas, and he made it, a bunch of bonehead decisions last year, including during the playoffs. He couldn't figure out Jordan Love and Green Bay, and they got embarrassed. And then so he gets a promotion as a head coach in Washington, and he's going to turn everything around. I don't think so. I think this quarterback's going to be good, but he's going to get injured. These running quarterbacks get injured. They get dinged up. They're going to get hit hard. It's a 17-game season. I'm looking at their depth, their offensive line. They're weak. They gave up a lot of sacks last year. And, I'm going to go a number even lower, 5.5 plus 190. Washington Commanders. And that's my best bet. I know I led off with your Jets, Jets, but my best bet is Washington winning 5 games or less.
Are there any teams that you like?
Well, you stole my Patriots there. I do like them. The team that I think is under the radar are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think 7.5, especially in that division. Everybody's ready to hand the crown to Atlanta. Not going to happen. Cousins is going to get hurt. Pennick is going to be good, but he's going to struggle. They're a team of underachievers. They have a ton of talent. They remind me of Dallas. I think Tampa is a gritty, tough team. I like Baker Mayfield. I thought we should have drafted him a long time ago. And they only got to win 8 games, So I'll even go higher. I think they're going to, this is another one on their spread where I can't get the 8.5. I'd like to get, 8. Maybe I'll have to look at a different sports book because on DraftKings, it's 7.5. And I like the over minus 135 jumps up to 9.5 plus 215. Could they win 10 games? I still think they can win 10. Who else is that tough? Nobody in that division. But if I jump over to their schedule real quick, and I'm looking at Tampa Bay here, and I see that Tampa, they open up at the aforementioned Commanders. And I think Detroit could be a little bit cocky about, where they ended up last year. They got a lot of, a lot of backup. They could steal that at week 2. And then 3 and 4 is Denver, Philly. Then they go to Atlanta for a huge game. New Orleans after that. And they got a couple of cake victories here in the Giants, the Panthers. They go into Vegas. They go against your Chargers, who you like. And then Carolina again, New Orleans again. And they finish up with Jacksonville and Miami, another team that I think.
The same reason that you like Tampa, my last team that I think might be a good over this year, I like New Orleans. And part of it is because of that division. I just think that division, there's a lot of W's there. There's a lot of W's to be had against those teams. I know everybody's getting excited about Atlanta and blah, 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 but.
Exactly. Yeah, I think Atlanta's way overrated, and Carolina's your other team, another weak team that I had on my totals list for a negative. I agree with you because of their D. They got great D. And can their quarterback get any worse? I mean, you know, he comes from good genes and everything. I know, but I think Carr is due for a good season. He was due for one in Vegas, and now he's due. I think they can put it together. Yeah, we'd like Nolans to have a good team down there. It's a fun city when they're playing well. It's a fun city anytime.
Yeah, it's better when the Saints are good.
No doubt. No doubt. Is their owner still kicking?
I think that guy's got it. The old guy Benson.
Yeah, exactly.
Stole the Who Dey chant from the Bengals.
Who dat? Who dat?
Who Dey started.
Who dat?
The Cincinnati Bengals and the Saints stole it. And the reason why it was who they think they're going to beat them Bengals is because of Hootapole beer. Hootapole is a local beer in Cincinnati, and they call it Who Dey. They say have a Who Dey. So it was who they think going to beat them Bengals, and the Saints stole it.
And they stole it and put who dat? Hey,
little NFL history.
There you go. I like that little. That's more than a morsel. I like that little segment there. All right, that's good to know. And you're only what? You only got to get 7 games.
Who
right?
they say going to beat Dave and Dave? Nobody. That's
nobody.
This is
you heard it here first,
folks. Tip of the iceberg.
7 games. You're even at 100. Put down 100. Get 100. 7 games. You only got to win 7. So
our weekly predictions are going to be better than this future stuff.
No doubt about it, folks. We're just warming up here with our future
bets. Not just football, but just for this show, we just wanted to talk a little bit about the NFL season because it's just about to kick off. Everybody's excited.
Exactly, and we're just warming up. You know, we just finished our baseball picks for the evening. We had a couple of
the
tough
Olympics,
games, which is I think maybe at the core of
handicapping me had to do. That was rough.
Yeah. Well, anytime you bet Pittsburgh in the last 72 hours,
a lot of money
you've had it rough. I think the Cubs scored what? They averaged a 13 a game. That's 39. Jesus, that's over 40 runs in 3 games.
The Pittsburgh people are ready for football. That's for sure. Yeah, they've seen enough of this baseball crap.
Feel sorry for Skinnis. He's got a gorgeous girlfriend, but he's going to have a hard time in 3 Rivers. No more We Are Family. Wow. But yes, we'll be all over baseball. We're going to be touching on horse racing. Let's take a path. Let's go over the Titanic. Let's go across the Atlantic, and let's see our guru of kickball. What looks good this weekend?
Very interesting game this weekend. It's the early game on Saturday. The big boys always complain about playing that early game. So Arsenal is at home against Brighton Hove Albion, and Brighton is actually at the top of the table right there with Arsenal because they won the first 2 games. And they're a huge underdog. I'm looking for them to keep this game close and play the draw. And it's a nice, healthy price. It's like plus 340 or something crazy. So looking for a close game between Brighton and Arsenal.
So when you're looking at these games, and it's so normal for a North American bettor to, who wins, who loses, and you're talking about the 3 bets that you can make in in soccer, win, draw, or loss after 90 minutes. Can you give us a little strategy on how just a little touch? I know we're going to be going into a lot
makes
more.
it such a great sport to bet on is the draw possibility, which is a distinct possibility. It's not like they happen all the time, but a decent percentage of games end in a tie. So you get three different betting propositions. You get team A, team B, and the tie. You can have a very strong opinion that one of these teams is going to win a game, and you're going to be getting plus money on it because the draw is a possibility. So in any kind of matchup between two, what are perceived to be evenly matched teams, you can have a team that you think there's no doubt about the fact that they're going to prevail, and you're getting plus money instead of having to lay the juice.
Even as a favorite, it's not a bad deal to win, to get the draw, right? As a visitor, I should say, as a visiting favorite.
You can get a favorite. You can get a home favorite who is plus 180. Happens all the time.
No, but what I'm saying is, the attitude of the draw isn't so negative. You're getting a point, and if you're on the road to get that point,
you'll see a team they actually end up playing for the tie towards the end.
Exactly.
And they have to blow the whistle. That's the hard part with betting on it. You got to get to that final whistle. You got to get through all the extra time. It's never over until it's over when you have the draw. Whereas if you pick a side and they're winning the game decisively, you're up a couple goals and it's getting late, you're probably in the clear. But when you have a draw, you got to make sure that nobody pokes one in there in the last couple of seconds.
That extra time, it can be hemorrhoid forming.
Yes.
Because we saw that in the Euro Cup, which you were on fire, I have to say. I know we're talking about past bets, but Dr. Dave was on fire in fuego at the Euro Cup because of the tie, and there were some monster numbers.
It's a great sport to bet on. I was of the opinion, like a lot of Americans, that, soccer, great sport to play, but kind of boring. Well, not when you're betting on it.
No.
Because of the fact that you can get a good price on a really good team or a team that's supposed to win. You're still getting plus money, and a lot of different options, a lot of different variables on the props for every game. There's a zillion of them, but the bottom line is, because of three distinct possibilities in the game, you get a lot of value. And if you see a game that looks like a toss-up, you can't split the two teams, take a shot at the draw. I guarantee you're going to be getting, at least 2-1, and many times a lot better than that.
And it's a difference between a winning or a losing day. You got 3 games out there and you lose 2, but you win 1. You're still winning money if you're betting on soccer.
Exactly, because you get plus money. It's the same thing when you're betting any sport with a money line on it. You need to selectively pick underdogs, and you need to hit it decent enough. You need to make the money work for you. Okay, you can't have it work against you. You don't want to never wager a lot to make a little. That's the sure way to put yourself out of business when it comes to gambling. And
after a while, after your season, I know it's just opening up now, but I know last year when you were opening these football, soccer doors to me, and I was very negative, but I was seeing how you were getting a feel for the league, getting a feel for how hard it is to play in Brighton. When Liverpool was in Man City, when Man U visits Arsenal, highly competitive English league, playing in these small stadiums where they're right on top of you. And it's not just about the won and loss records. You can dig in there and get some advantages, and make some money, especially off that tie, because there are some teams that still play real well at home against the best teams, and a tie is a win for them.
And historical trends are important in every sport when you're handicapping, but I think even a little bit more so in European soccer. It's if a trend is a trend until it stops being a trend. If a team has problems playing, even with total changes in personnel, over a 10-year period. The same guys aren't playing for these teams anymore. But if they have a problem winning in a certain spot, hey, don't try to figure it out. But don't bet into the teeth of it either.
I agree with that. And saying that, you could correct me. This is probably a little bit of ignorance, but just logic. And that makes the Champion League a little bit more difficult because they don't play as much together. You can't kind of dig in and get the trends of what's going on. But as a bettor, you can make some money off of that,
Yeah,
especially
when the leagues play each other in the tournaments in the Champions League and whatnot. It's fascinating. And if you've been watching all the leagues and you sort of get a sense for, one league is a little bit better than the others. Right now, they sort of have the Premier League on top with La Liga second, Serie A third, and Bundesliga kind of almost a distant fourth. But then last year,
such a change. It used to be they were almost a solid first with Bayern Munich being the stud for many years.
Last year it was Leverkusen.
Yes. But that's your field, and we're going to be doing a lot of that this year because it's all about making money. We're going to be looking at horses, obviously football, baseball. That's going to be 1 and 2. But we're going to have sports, especially sporting events. We got the Breeders coming up at Del Mar where the surf meets the turf. And you no longer can party in the infield like the old days, but we're going to be touching upon that as well. Well, we touched upon the futures. Great analysis there, Daver, on the football, the soccer. Next week, we're going to dive right into it. But I wanted to touch upon before we go, we got a game this coming up tomorrow. Any feelings about the Buffaloes of Colorado?
Yeah, I'm scared to death of North Dakota State. I've been told that is that I'm hedging. I'm hedging against my heart. I've been told by a knowledgeable sports person, but I have to disclose. I went to the University of Colorado, and I am.
Did you actually attend classes there, or were you?
Oh yes, I did. I went to.
Okay. I know you're a smart guy. You probably whizzed right through them, but I know you know all the waitresses and bartenders. I know that.
But I know there's so much hype and there's so much money on Colorado right now. I think this line is definitely skewed. North Dakota State is always tough at their level, and I just think that's a big number. That's a big number. I think we'll be fortunate to win. I would never lay that amount of points. I probably won't take North Dakota State, but gun to my head, that's who I would put my money on.
Well, that's 9.5. Either way, North Dakota State's getting 9.5. Total 60.5. So they obviously think North Dakota State. They won. You're going to have to help me on that. Was it Division II? They won.
Well, now, last year it went to South Dakota. And in the Power last year.
And that was the final. All right.
North Dakota State with Carson Wentz and all these other guys. And coming into last season, there was a time just a few years ago where I think they had the fourth most amount of alums or people who went to the school. They graduated, of course, but people who went to this in the NFL. Now, going into last season, they had 11 guys in the NFL who went to North Dakota State, which is, interestingly, the exact same number of people who went to Colorado in the NFL, 11 guys. So they're right up there with, schools that are just, it's a great program. It's a great program, and they have really good players and definitely not to be taken lightly. And I don't know if everybody's forgotten the fact that Colorado kind of went in the tank at the end of last year. And, we were riding high, and, we beat TCU, who were nowhere near as good as they were a couple of years ago. But we beat them. Then everybody dumped money on them and swung that line so much when they played Nebraska. We beat them and covered. But, shortly after that, we didn't cover for like months. I mean, we played Oregon and we got embarrassed. The season was not this incredible success that everybody thinks it was. Now, did we recruit well? Are a lot of guys taking a look at Colorado that wouldn't have before Dion? Well, of course, they're getting a better caliber of players, and we're a much better team than we were a few years ago. But that's because we were one of the worst teams in college football. Now we're playing one of the best teams in Division II year in and year out, and I think this is a very dangerous game, especially for a first game where a lot of times it takes a little while to get things cranking.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I am actually going to be on North Dakota State. Lot of dogs this past weekend. The one in Ireland, I had that called out. The Yellow Jackets in Ireland. It was kind of crazy seeing them at the pub there, but doing the whoa. What the hell is that? The hatchet chopping in the old country. Get them out, kick them out. And they couldn't quite figure out the rugby ball. But yeah, 3 monster dogs.
They got home too.
That's right. That's right.
State, they've never seen the inside of a classroom.
Well, you are correct, sir. Well, we'll be here next week. And next week, we're going to start analyzing the NFL and, of course, college football. We'll be touching a lot more on baseball. We're going to give you our baseball picks for that night or the coming games, but definitely for next week's Thursday night kickoff through the Sunday games and the Monday game. And we'll touch upon, some of the bigger college games. We're going to cruise over to what's happening in golf and also in tennis. We're going to be touching upon anything. This is our kickoff. And make sure you let us know what you like. Which Dave do you like, of course, and which picks do you like? Or are we just picking our nose? What are we doing? What are you guys doing? But hit our like button, support us, sign up. We're going to be here. We're not going anywhere. We're going to stick this thing through, and we're going to get on a roll. I guarantee that, because we're here to make some money, to talk about it a lot, not just to hear ourselves talk, but to make some picks, to make some money and prove the public wrong.
Come on, Dave.